Luminary Photography CIC in the East End of Sunderland. So this video is a quick introduction to UMap. UMap is an online mapping platform. It's completely free and open source, and it's based on OpenStreetMap. It uses OpenStreetMap for its base maps. It's very simple to use, it's very accessible, and very quickly you can build really complex maps that you can embed in your websites and things like that. Okay, the website that you need to go to is umap.openstreetmap.fr, and when you go to the website you'll see something like this. You can go ahead and create a map without having to create an account or anything like that, which is absolutely fantastic. However, if you want to save those maps and be able to come back into them and edit them and keep them private, you'll need an account. And so you can see there's a login, sign in link here. When you click on that, it takes you to these icons. These two are obviously obsolete now, but we've got GitHub and we've got StreetMap. You need to have an account with one of them to log in. And so OpenStreetMap's quite a good one if you haven't got either of these accounts. And you just click on that and it'll take you here, and it just goes through the usual sign up procedure. What you'll find is a bit odd is when you try to log back in, it needs to take you to OpenStreetMap for you to log into the UMap account because of it being based on OpenStreetMap. So it'll take you back to that OpenStreetMap page. So when you come into UMap, this is the front page of the site. You'll see it's fairly well laid out. You've got the main map in the middle. On the left hand side here you've got the viewing icons, and on the right hand side you've got the editing icons. Across the top you've got the name of the map, and you can just click on that to edit it. Visibility, so this is who can see the map, whether it's a private map or whether everybody can see it, whether you use a link. Just here we've got undo and redo icons, so you can just undo any errors you've made. And along here we've got your account name, and this button here is to view or to edit. So if I click on that now, it goes to edit. If I click on that again, it goes back to view. You can see here we've got plus and minus, so this will just zoom in and out of the map. We can search for a place name, so if I type in Sunderland, you've got city in England there, it'll open that up and it'll take you directly to it. This will give you full screen, and this is to share, so this gives you lots of options to share. It allows you to change loads and loads of options about the way that the window looks when you share it or embed it, and you've just got basic links here. More complicated iframe links so that you can put this onto other websites and things like that. You can download it in a whole bunch of different file types, so like GPX is one that most people will recognize from things like Strava and stuff like that, and then the basic links for viewing the website. We also have here, so this is your layers. It's got nothing at the moment because we haven't created any layers, but you can filter these and you can add information to, and then if we click on this one, any descriptions or anything that you've put into your layers will be shown here, and any credits for that you want to put in and all of that sort of thing. Okay, so they're your basic viewing icons. So I'm going to click over here, so we've got it on, if we click on that, that will take us to view the whole thing. If I click back on that, it'll take us back to this view with the icons. So I'm just going to work my way down here. So I'm just going to start at the top. So this is to draw a marker. You can see that pops up there. And this is basically for your points of interest. So I'm just going to find the building that we're in. So we're down the East End here, and we're just there. So I'm just going to put that marker in. I can give it a name. I can give it a description. And you can add as many new fields as you want. So we've got a description. It could be that you want something like, I don't know, history, Try another one. Surrounding area. Now, when we click on the button onto our point of interest there, you see that it's only got hello from Luminary in there. So what we have to do to include all of these other things, we have to add a little bit of code, which I'll come to shortly. But for just general points of interest, again, just come off there, click on there, add another icon. Just like that. And you can see we've now got these boxes in for this one as well, so history and surrounding area. The other thing we can do, so we can go down, and this is the same regardless of what, so if we do any of these, use any of these other things, we also get these options as well to change color and things like that. So I'm just going to go through these. So you can pick so under shape properties, you can pick your color. If you click on there, you'll see that you can either do it as kind of color values, or color names, hex codes or whatever, or you can just go in and you can just pick out of the colors that are already here. So I'm just going to pick a red. So if we go to icon shape and click on define, you see you get a choice of different things. So we've got a circle, large circle, drop, ball, or none. If we got it on large circle or none, we can actually choose the size of it as well. You see, basically none is just without the color around it. Icon symbol, so we can define an icon symbol as well. So I'll have a scroll down. You can see there's just a whole bunch of icons there. If we do a search, I'm just going to look for a camera. There you go. So I'm going to put a camera in there. Opacity, so we can change the opacity of our little point of interest icon. So in the advanced properties, default zoom level, we can define this to change the zoom level when we click on something. We can leave that at default for the moment. Interaction options, so we can define the pop-up shape. So we've got our standard pop-up there, our large pop-up, and side panel. So if I just save that, you see that's the large pop-up there, and then the side panel opens from the side, which is great if you've got lots of images, lots of text and things like that. It gives you a scrollable box in there. You can see as well that this is defined from object to object, so this is kind of completely independent of the layer itself. Pop-up content style, this is the way that the content of it looks. It's just a load of different versions. Display label, so you can have it switched on all the time. You can have it just when it goes on hover, or you can have it no labels at all. Okay, and you can define like quite a lot of things in this. So you can define where the label is, whether the labels are clickable. So I would say if you've got your labels showing, you probably want them clickable as well. So link to, so whatever URL you put in there, when you click on the icon, it'll open that page. I find this a little bit disorientating because it opens the page and jumps straight to that page rather than staying here, and that means like it feels a bit like your website's, but the map, that feels a bit like the map's been shut down and it's jumped to this new website. The other thing you've got to bear in mind as well, that you want it in a new window. You can have it in an iframe, which will pop up again, but if it's in the parent window, it'll open up in this, and you'll have to click backwards to go back to this main page. So personally, I prefer, if I'm going to link to something, is to actually have to show a link in the actual box instead, in the actual pop-up box. Coordinates, this is really useful to have. So we can kind of click anywhere on the map and we can pick up our coordinates and use them then to put our points of interest and things like that. and then our advanced actions at the bottom just to delete. So these options here are pretty much the same on all of these different things here. So I'm just going to put a name in there. If we look over on the left hand side, you can see that this the layers window now has all our points of interest in there. You can zoom into it, you can delete it, you can show it as a list of places, so you can have all this information in one place. And the pencil here, the pencil's just to edit, and obviously the dustbin's to delete. Okay, so if we go to the next icon here, so draw a polyline. So basically this allows us to just draw a line. Could use it as a route or something like that, or we could use it as a boundary for something. You can see there that that the length is recorded as well, so it's shown as 7.3 kilometers. I'm just going to click. So if you want to drag the map when you get to the edge of it, all you do is you click and hold down your mouse button and then just move with your mouse. And then that's it. So I'm just double clicked out of that. And then if you want to go back in, you just right click on it and then click on, so this will delete the point there, or you can click on that to add, and you can go back to it and then just double click and it'll click out of it. Okay, so we've got a line. You can see a line there. Exactly the same again, so we can rename this, we can add a description. We can add more fields and we can add more text in. At the moment we can't see them in there, and we're going to come back to that in a moment. Our shape properties, you can see with our shape properties again we've got our colours exactly as it was on the previous one. So something a bit brighter, you can see the line's gone red. Line decoration, so we can add text along our line as well. I'm just going to change the colour of that because it doesn't show up very well. If I zoom in, you can just see the text going along the line there. I've just put boundary, but it could be the name of a route, like cycle route or something like that, or it could be the names of boundaries and things. So simplify, we can simplify the line so we haven't got as many points in there. It just makes it a bit more efficient for zooming in and out. Dash array is just how dashed the line is, and again there's a default zoom level. And again, if we carry on down here, you can see we've got exactly the same selection that we had earlier for displaying different things. Okay, so next one down on the list is the polygon tool. So this is a great tool for showing areas or maybe the shape of a building or something like that. And if you use the layers, you can do really quite complex things with it. So you can do like county boundaries, or so I'm just going to click around here. So I'm going to just do it quite quickly, and then you can actually pick up the points afterwards and just kind of straighten them out. If you right click and click on the pencil, then that will release the line there. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to layers, I'm going to add a new layer. Okay, so layer 2. I'm going to go into this, and what I'm going to do here is create a different shape. That's it. Oop. And now if I go to layer 2 and just edit that, I can go to the shape properties and define that as a different color. You see that's in red there. And then what you can have is, so you could have these as two different dates. So perhaps the blue one could be an earlier date when this piece of land was smaller, and then the second one could be a later date when the piece of land had grown or taken over another piece of land or something like that. But it's a brilliant way of using kind of the layers to kind of show different bits of information. Okay, so the next icon down is route, so I'm just going to click on this, and it gives you options for different ways to travel. So I'm going to go by car. I'm just going to leave it on recommended, but it gives you fastest and shortest as well, so click OK. I'm just going to travel from here down here. Just click on here, and you'll see that it's automatically put down the recommended route. I'm just going to go back into here and just edit that. I'm just going to change the properties of that so that you can see it better. Okay, and you can see the route there. Okay, so I'm just going to the next icon down, which is the map and caption. So basically, info button. You can see we can change the name, the description. We can have the map as a template, so that means we can set a whole load of things like the colours and the way that the map operates, and we can save that so that every map we do in the future is basically the same and has all of the same colours and codings and everything. We can put tags in here for what our map is about, and our credits. So there's some things, some of the mapping and everything, and some things that you might want to put in here that you'll need to have credits for, but that basically the credits can go in there. Our next icon, this arrow, so this is our import data section. The import data section kind of allows us to bring in information from a spreadsheet, so we can do things like longitude and latitude. We can add in the descriptions, we can add links to images and other websites and things like that, and we can import all of that into here. We can choose the format, but generally CSV is a pretty good way to do it, or a GPX if you pulled it off another website, and most of the time it will detect it automatically anyway. Choose the layer, so you can create a new layer, or you can add it to an old layer that you've already got. You can give the layer a name, and when you click on import data, it'll upload the file. So I'm just going to do that now. I'm just going to click on choose files. I'm going to go to the desktop where I've got my information. So you can see I've got a couple of GPX files there, and then I've got this sample import data, which is my the points that I've put in. So I'm just going to click on sample import data. I'm going to click OK, and then that's going to bring that in. I'll just click on import data, and there you go. Okay, so our information's been imported. You can see here we've got 4 points on the map now, 4 icons. If I click on one of these, you'll see it brings up a pop-up box, and it's got the title in bold. It's got a space, like a blank line, and then it's got the description in standard text. So if I go over here and go to default interaction options, so it's this kind of like gear wheel at the bottom here, and go to pop-up content template, click on define, and you'll see in here we've got name and description. So it's got the hash, which puts the text in bold, and we've got name, which draws the information from the name column in our spreadsheet. It's got the curly brackets around it to define that section. Then we've got description. So again, this is taking the data from the description column. We've got the brackets around it defining that section. So if we click on the question mark up here, you'll see it brings up a whole load of information about how we define the columns that it's getting the information from in our spreadsheet. So you can see here with links. So links is a double brackets around your URL, and that will produce just a link that you click on and takes you to link. with the link with text, so you can define the text of the link. So it doesn't have to be the URL like this. You can have any text, and then it'll be have the kind of the style of a link as you usually see. Usually it's like blue with the underline, and you just click on that, and that will do the same. Okay, so with images, it's we have double curly brackets around it, and in here we need a URL to an actual image that's online. So it's got to be online. It needs to be on your website, or use something like jumpshare.com, which is you can just upload an image. You don't have to have an account. It'll just produce a URL for you to paste into here. You can define the width as well, so in pixels. So if you wanted it to be a couple hundred pixels wide, you could just put 200 pixels in here where it says width. An iframe, so an iframe is like a pop-up box that can show another website or something like that. So if you wanted to show like a YouTube video, or you wanted to show your own website or something, or show some other information in a different way without having to leave the site, to leave the map, you could just paste a URL in here. It's got 3 sets of curly brackets around it. So that will allow you to show that directly in the map. Okay, and then so if we go over here, we can see in the spreadsheet, and you can see we've got sort of name, longitude, latitude. So this is the actual location that you want to put an icon on. The description. These can be named anything you want. So this is just an obvious name, in obvious names that I've used, but you could name this anything you want. So if you've got 4 different boxes with different amounts, different text in about the location or whatever, you can have as many as you want, as long as you define them in the pop-up content template. So we can also define different properties for different layers as well. So although at the moment we're using the overall default interaction option, so this defines everything in the on the map itself, we can actually go up to layers and edit our layer, and you'll see that we've got a pop-up content template for specific layers as well. So that means we can have different information depending on the layers. So when we import it in, that template's across everything that we define on a specific layer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come back into our default interaction options. You can see in here we've got the beginnings of our template. So what I'm going to do is just add in here, so link to. So I'm just using the title of the column so it knows where to bring that information in from. I'm going to use image and then iframe, and then what should now happen is you can see that that extra information has been brought in. So when we click on this, we can see, so we can see here that all this information, we've got a lot of information on here, it's all squashed into that little box. So what I want to do is just change that standard pop-up. So I'm just going to go over to our layers, find the icon that I want. You can see all this information has been imported into here, and if we go to interaction options, pop-up shape, I'm going to have that as a side panel, and just click save. You can see now if I click on that it comes up as a side panel there, and we can kind of spread that information out. So this is great if you've got loads of descriptions and lots of images and things like that you want to put in. It's great to have it in this side panel there, and as the information goes down you'll end up with a scroll bar there as well. One of the other things, so just looking at this, so it's all a bit squished up, so what we can do is we can go in back into our template here, and we can just, if we do that, and what should happen is we've now got this all nicely spaced out. So you can see how easy it is if you use a spreadsheet just to import that data. It means that you can do literally hundreds and hundreds of kind of points of interest on your map and make it really easy to kind of bring it all in. Obviously you've still got to fill out the spreadsheet, but this just makes it so much easier, particularly with things like images and stuff, embedding images. it just simplifies that process so much. Okay, and then so we've imported information from Spreadsheets. So the other ways that we can import information as well from other file formats. So what I'm going to do is just going to click on here, and we've got a few. These are what we call GPX. So this is global positioning file types. So this is what you might find on a site that has lots of walks or runs, or that you might download from something like Strava. So I'm just going to bring one of these in. So I'm just going to click open on there, click on import, and you can see it just jumped straight there. And you can see this route that I've brought in, and it's got some points of interest on there as well on the actual route. And so you can kind of add lots of things like this. If you go over to the share section, you can actually export as well. So you can export, if you've made a route like this, you can export that as GPX. And basically what you do is you hide the layers on here of the information that you don't want to show up. So if we switch that on off, and then go to share, and you can do a backup of only the visible layers. So if we backed up with like GPX, that would just show this layer that we've got here. And then you can obviously upload that to other sites and things like that, pass it on to other people. So this here allows us to change the base map. Okay, so one of the things that you'll notice is that if we scroll out here on this map and just have a scroll about and go down to, what you'll notice is that London there is in French. It's because it's a French website with the .fr, and so the best map for us to use if you want it in English is the OpenStreetMap there, just the standard OpenStreetMap, and you see that's changed. All the names will be in English now. There are some other maps as well. So some simplified maps and things like that. That's quite a good one if you want the information that you're putting in to stand out. That works really well. There's kind of a darker map there, and there's lots of different options. One of the things that we can't do in UMap is we can't import lots of layers. So we can't import things like LiDAR and things like that directly, which you can with bigger packages such as QGIS and things like that. But what we can do as an alternative is we can kind of bring in some other mapping sources. I'm just going to go over to a browser, and I'm here on the National Library of Scotland website. It's maps.nls.uk, and if you look for geo-referenced maps, and you get this online platform for looking at the variety of mapping. You can search by place name, and you can search by county. So if you choose somewhere in the northeast, it will pretty much show you all the mapping for the northeast. I've picked a map here that I know has got good coverage. Some of the maps that you come across might be very specific areas. So some of the air mapping from kind of around the Second World War is very specific to kind of London and some of the major cities, and some of the maps don't cover this area, but they do have quite a list of kind of historic maps. So this is kind of I'd say quite a good map because it's covering everything that we want. If I click on overlay here in the bottom, you'll see it brings up like a list of counties. It's got so this is a 1 to 10,560 ratio map. So that's kind of like a general one, and then you've got a 1 to 2,500 map, which the scale on this means we can zoom in much closer. I'm just going to pick the Durham map, and you can see here it's just popped to this this next page. You can see the map in here. These are the tiles that we can kind of bring the information in from. And then if we look over to the right hand side here, we've got a whole bunch of different ways of importing things, but the one we're interested in is XYZ. It's XYZ there, and if we click on that, it gives us this link. I'm just going to copy that link, and if we go back to UMap, and we go over here, again to the kind of the advanced map options. And if we go for custom overlay, and you'll see here it's got supported scheme, and it's got a URL, and it's got ZXY. So although that says ZXY and this is XYZ, the link, that's what we're looking for. And then we're just going to paste it in here and just click the tick, and there you can see that that mapping's been brought in, and it's preserved our kind of points of interest and our layers and everything else. So you can see what the potential of this is. This means that we can map onto historic maps with our layers, with our shapes and things like that. We can show where things were at different eras, so we can show where things are now compared to where they were at the same era as our mapping. So as soon as you're able to do this, this just opens up a whole load of options for you. And like I say, it's not as advanced as some of the bigger mapping software where you can have multiple layers of this sort of thing, but it keeps the great thing about UMap is the simplicity of it, and being able to do this just takes it up to the next level. If I go back to the National Library of Scotland website, I'm just going to show you. So if I go down to air photographs, you can actually see. So there's no tiles on there. If we go down, so you can see there's some there up in Scotland. So some of the air photography might be if we change. So you can see as we change maps, there's only some areas are covered by some of the mapping, so just something to be aware of. And like I say, there's other websites that provide sources of mapping in this tiled way, and with the links, all you've got to do is find that specific kind of XYZ a link for the mapping. Okay, so we've done our map. We've got a map to the final state that we want it in, and so now the next thing is just to share it. So if I go over to the left-hand side here and just click on share. So we can share a link. So this is just a standard link and a shortened version of the link. We can download the information. So this isn't the mapping. So this is just the standard information, so that people can upload it to other mapping websites. We can save it as a JPEG and a PNG, but this doesn't save that overlay of the old mapping and everything. There's probably because of copyright things, because that information is copyrighted. However, to be honest, you could probably just screenshot the page and use the map that way. Full backup just backs up all of that information, so that we can upload the map again in the future. This here, so this is to embed, so it embeds in an iframe into a website or something like that. And here we've got, this is just the, so this says share this link to open a customized map view. So now if we click on this arrow here, so if we're embedding into a website, we can change all the parameters of how it will be embedded. So we can change, so like if we've zoomed in, rather than having the default view, we can have the current view instead of the default map view. So we can change the zoom and everything else on there, and the layers and everything else. Keep current visible layers, open current feature on load. And as you can see, there's loads of options in here. Allow the scroll wheel to zoom. Mini map. So the mini map's just a little square map that's in the corner. Most of these are self-explanatory. So, but once you've set those details, once you've set all of that, share this link to open a customized map view. So that will give us it displays as it is. If we want to embed it, we need to copy this, and this will change to whatever we put in here. So if I put kind of 50% in here, you'll see that the text here is changing. So if you're using WordPress, so the way to embed this in WordPress is in the page editor, the site editor, add a block that does custom HTML. You can just search for it in the blocks list, and you just copy this text straight into the custom HTML box, and then you can click on preview and it will show you what the result of this is. And you can just pop back in here. If you need to change it, you can just change these parameters again. Make sure that you copy this text again once you've changed everything and paste that back in again. So and it's quite powerful as well in the way that it embeds everything, so you can kind of control, let's say, almost every aspect of this. Okay, I hope that's been helpful. I hope that's given you a good overview of UMap. It's a lot more simple than it seems when you first look at it. It sounds like there's an awful lot in there. It's really comprehensive. You can add so much information to it. Anyway, I hope this has been a useful introduction to UMap. Like I say, it's a very comprehensive program. You can do an awful lot with it. See our YouTube channel for more videos. Like and subscribe, and have a look at our website at luminary.org.uk. We run hundreds of workshops every year. We run courses and anything to do with photography, video, and creative things. We build websites, we do design, and we work with lots of community organisations. We're always looking for people to work with. So please get in touch.